Hello, and welcome back to Practically Political. I'm Dave Spencer. It's great to have you.
And I'm Carrie Sheffield. Welcome to the show. Well, Dave, as always, it's a busy election year and never a shortage of stories. One thing that jumped out to me was that CNN's lead data analyst, he was shocked to see that Donald Trump is now polling at 21% among Black men. And this is predominantly due to Black men under the age of 50. I have a friend who's a longtime political reporter for Time Magazine, and she said that 20% is the key threshold for any tipping point. It doesn't matter what you're talking about, but to normalize a broad social trend. So, my question to you is, do you think we've reached a tipping point for Black men supporting Trump? And then do you think this is going to be something that's lasting for other Republicans, or is this really just based on the personality of Trump?
Well, it's a very relevant topic because I think, as Charlemagne the God, how can you not like a name like that? He summed it up perfectly. He said there's really three candidates: there's Trump, there's Biden, and there's the couch. And if the couch wins a lot, that hurts Biden a lot more than Trump, right? Because Trump has a much higher floor. And that's what you're seeing here. But to answer your question, I think no, I don't think it's a tipping point yet. And again, let's have some historical perspective. Trump increased his share of the black vote in 2020 from 2016 to 9% from 6%. So, yes, there's over 20% of black men, but is Trump going to get over 20% of the black vote? No. But is he going to get more than he got in 20? Probably. And more importantly, is there going to be apathy, which is going to keep a lot of black voters from voting? So it's a complicated answer. I think the most simple number one answer is that this election is viewed, and this is Biden's biggest problem, through the prism of inflation. Now, I think 80% of that to 85% is not Biden's fault. I think supply chains got mangled and there was pent up demand. A lot of people had money to spend, too few goods, too much money. Did the American Rescue Plan help? No, but I think it was a minor part of it. So the issue is working class people obviously get hit hardest by inflation. Working class people of color, and this is true with Latinos also, get hit especially hard. Plus, you throw on top of this, these people under 50, they've never experienced inflation. Two-thirds of the voters in this election, which is a stat that I say every time with incredulity, have never experienced inflation. They don't remember the way I do, and you don't either, what inflation was like in 1979 when it was 18%. So I think that is the main problem. Now, has Trump done that much for black voters? I don't really think so. I think Biden's unemployment rate, under Biden, the unemployment for black Americans is almost a full point lower than it was under Trump. Home ownership is at record levels, but that may not matter. So the real issue, I think, is going to be apathy. I don't think it's support for Trump. I think it's lack of support and enthusiasm for Biden. And there's a really good article in Politico today where this is most prevalent is in Milwaukee, which is probably the city that Biden needs the most. And even though Trump called it a horrible city, I don't think that's going to make that much of a difference. What say you?
Yeah, I think you make really good points. I think the couch thing from Charlemagne is spot on. And I think that by not voting, that's in some ways voting for Trump, because that is really how Biden won during the primary for him in the Democrat primary. It was Jim Clyburn who provided that wall for him in South Carolina. And it's interesting because I saw he'd done an interview about Biden losing steam with black voters. And his quote is, "This is all about miscommunication, disinformation." And he blames the media. He says the media is distorting Biden's record and Trump's record, and underplaying economic success under Biden and upplaying what happened under Trump. And I don't know. I think that that's not giving the voters enough credit. So I would disagree with the congressman on that. I think that people, yeah, unemployment might be good, but that's nominal, and that doesn't include underemployment and also the fact that the labor force participation rate has not recovered to pre-COVID days. You have a lot of people who just have given up altogether, and consumer sentiment has been below where it was even before COVID also. So even though nominally people might be getting higher wages because of inflation, they feel less wealthy or that it's all being going up in smoke. So I think that's a big part. And so yeah, I agree with what you said that inflation is really what's driving this election. And I think that the nuances of supply chain and who's at fault, people don't care about that. They just want to know who's at the top. Um, I personally think that the regulatory regime has also had a big constricting effect, and that is Biden driven. Just looking at, Lena Khan, for example, at the FTC and her aggression against capitalism, that's caused an unfavorable climate for business development.
What do you mean aggression against capitalism? What do you mean by that?
Lena
What is she?
Khan, she keeps getting struck down in the courts for trying to overreach government on anything from mergers and acquisitions to just the way that companies do business. Like she thinks that the government knows better than businesses. So I think we're seeing the downstreams of that, and that's why you're seeing the black voters who are going to Trump. That being said, with all against this caveat, it's still a really bad number for Republicans. Like, it's exciting for Republicans to get a 100% increase if they get it. But still, if you're talking from a very low base, Republicans have a lot of work to do at the end of the day with black voters.
Well, and also this is a thing that I do not quite understand, and I think there's a lot of forces of blame. I think yes, the media deserves some blame, and I think the Biden administration has a messaging problem. But when Nikki Haley, as we talked about in a previous show, said, "I want someone who's going to defend capitalism," last time I checked, stock market, record highs, corporate profits, record highs. We're pumping more oil than we ever had. So this idea that somehow Biden is hurting capitalism. By the way, job growth in the last 3 years, as I said before, of the Obama administration was better than the first 3 years of the Trump administration. The economic numbers have been better under Biden for almost every metric. I think people have these rose-colored glasses of the Trump administration. And unfortunately, we have to go all the way back to 1892 to find a similar election when you had an unpopular incumbent running against an unpopular former president, two candidates that really most of the people don't want. So it's hard to go back that far. But the point is that I think Biden administration, and we've said this before, needs to sharpen their messaging, because you can tell people all you want about how great the unemployment rate is and record job creation and all this, but the bottom line is you have to talk to people where they are, not where they should be based on your great policies. And I think Biden is being a little tone deaf on that. And that's, for the working class man from Scranton, that's kind of surprising. But I think the good news is that the economy is continuing to improve. Consumer sentiment is getting better. And if we have a rate cut in September, as I think we will, then I think people can say that it'll be back on track. But it's still a tough slog, and Biden should definitely be doing better. And as I said many times before, like a broken record, he shouldn't be running. He's the one who should supposed to be the adult in the room.